Okay, today is Daf Lamed Daled. Lamed Daled Amud Aleph is going to be the Sugya of Naska Derab Abba. Lamed Daled Amud Beis is going to be the Sugya Hu Arva. We're going to be seeing both sugyas today. I just want to go back on one point yesterday where I was mentioning last night when we were doing the Daf. I had a question. I told you I want to think about it. I knew, I'm missing something at an elementary level. I was telling you this, Jack, that I'm not understanding a very basic elementary part of the Gemara. And by Mariv, when I went to Mariv, I opened up the Gemara again and I looked at it again and I realized I was missing something very crucial. When Rashbam says in Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph, he had a chazaka that he ate it during his father's time. But I was missing one crucial point, which is the kol that was going out, that they were eating from the assignment, wasn't born today. It means to say is, the kol that it was a mashkanta de surah, which means everyone knew already as a rumor. That was what I was missing. I understood the Gemara. A rumor came out now. When I was looking at the Gemara again, I realized when looking at the Bayis Taina was that the call came. There was always a call that this karka was never really yours, and that was the Bayis Taina. If there's always a call, you should have held on to your star. That was my something I wasn't fully comprehending yesterday. But Baruch Hashem, I was zeicher. Let me zeicher to see it later on when I looked at it at the Gemara over by Mariv, and I realized right before Mariv, I realized I had a few minutes, and I realized that was
God came to you.
Yeah, that was the point I was missing yesterday. I wasn't understanding. Okay, let's go back into yesterday. We started this Gemara Lamed Gimel and Beis, but let's reiterate it again. It's chazir a little because we're going to jump right into Naskadar Bab. So we started yesterday. There was a person who told his friend, "My boys Bahayara, what are you doing in this land?"
Where are you?
I am on Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis by Yehuda Melechava, which is 8-9 lines from the top and the bottom. 9 lines to the bottom.
8, 9. Okay.
We started it yesterday, but we're going to need the flow into Naskar Baba. We should just start from the beginning of the story. So this person tells his friend, "My boys Bahayara, what are you doing in this land?" Amalei minoch zavnis. I bought it from you. I have a beautiful chazaka. And what happened was, I see chat sada dacholat lashnin. He was only able to bring.
When did he buy it?
He bought it 3 years ago. That's why he doesn't have a star. And he was able to produce only one witness that he was using the land for 3 years. Now what's happening is the witness, the more the Havmin is going to understand, all the witness is doing is damage. The shaila becomes,
what happens if second witness would die?
I don't understand the question. What do you mean he would die?
Let's say
This is the case. You only had one witnesses.
And now there's only one.
This is the case.
You only have one witness.
So you only have one witness.
I understand, but
Do you want me to share Gomar?
What?
Do you want me to share Gomar?
No. I'm saying that if, let's say, he has one witness, but if he had two and one died.
There's no such thing. He had 2 and 1 died. That's one witness. We don't care about 2. Unless you get up there and be made. Till then, guy's walking into business to give Adis and he drops dead. Nothing to do about it. You never gave a witness. You never gave a testimony.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Right. So this is the case that he had one witness. He was like this. You could say your case. He had 2 witnesses and one of them died. So he's left with 1. If you want, you can understand like that. It makes 0 difference. The point is, it was only 1 witness. So he must give back the property because he has no 8. There's only 1. The question becomes, right? He has to give back the property. It's not his anymore. The question becomes, what about the produce? We said Hadra Ara Amr Nachman Hadra Ara Bahadra Peiru because it's not a mechila. And so the question becomes, the produce that he already ate maybe should be potter. We'll see why. The sugi of Naskadar Baba. So Savra Abana Kamei. The Chachamim understood. They were studying before Bai. They wanted to say as follows: Hainu Naskadar Baba. So what is the famous decision rendered by Rababa? What was the history? What was the story? There was a certain man who snatched a beautiful silver bar. It was worth a lot of money. He took that bar. And what happened was, the guy said, "You're a ganav, you stole my bar." So they went to Rababa. Rababa was sitting before Rabami at the time. And the plaintiff was able to produce a witness. The Mechtav Chatfamine. And so let's clarify something we're going to see later extensively. Whenever someone produces a witness, we're going to see from the Psukim of the Torah, you can force and obligate the defendant to make a shvur. So that's what helps usually a witness. So what happened was, instead of just saying, make a shvur that he didn't do it, what did he do? He admitted. He said, yes. Amalei.
Yes to what?
In. He's going to say, I'm in. Yes, chatfi. I will admit, like that one witness is saying, I did steal. I did take it back. Sorry. However, vididi chatfi. It's mine. So now let's go through what is going on over here. Okay? Let's now the Gemara. This is the whole Lamed Gimel Lamed Daled Lamed Aleph. We're going to try to produce the Maisa. Amar Rabami. Heichi nedainuya daini lahai dino. We're on Lamed Daled Lamed Aleph, the top of the Amid. How can the judges? What should we do now? What's the question? Let's go through it. Before we do that, the Rishbam says, let's go just bring out the point. The Rishbam says there are 3 scenarios that we wouldn't have a question. Let's go it outside. The Rishbam outside. 2 Eidim pull up and said he grabbed it away. Does he have to give it back? Yeah, because it's mine. I'm walking in the street with my silver bar. 2 Eidim come, say, I saw you, grab it away from me, give it right back. No, there's no discussion in the Dayanim. Case number 1. Case number 2, there's 0 witnesses. He's believed because there's no witnesses. I don't know who you are. Sorry. He's believed with the migu. He's saying, yes, I grabbed it, but migu, I could have just said either that's mine or I bought it from you. I don't need, there's no witnesses saying I snatched it. That's one option. The other option is, even in the scenario where there was one witness, I know he's bringing his Gemara. Thank you, Chaim.
2?
Yeah, no, he had Julie's Gemara. We were waiting for Chaim. Chaim, we just started the sugya of Naska Darababa. We're going through this case. We started this yesterday, but we're chazering it again. And we're trying to go through the sugya Lamed Daled and Aleph. Let's go through this, yeah? Chaim, let's just quickly tell it to you outside in 30 seconds. A person was walking down the street. He was holding onto a silver bar. You listening?
Yes.
And a person came and grabbed it away.
Yes.
And one witness came and said, I saw him grab it. So we're going to see that usually when one witness is produced, you're chayav a shvur. So instead of making the shvur that he didn't do it, he admitted that he took it.
Yes.
But he's tying it that it's mine. So we're going through cases where the Rashbam outside, where it does not make it, where we wouldn't have a shiloh. We're going through 3 scenarios. If 2 witnesses are produced, that he grabbed it, he must give it back. If there was no witnesses, he has a migu. Even if there's one witness, he could have made a shvur and got away with it, right? That scenario. Right? Okay. Now, the problem is let's go through it. You can't make a shvur because you admit it. There are no 2 witnesses to pay. Right? There are no 2 witnesses that you have to give back. There's no 0 witnesses that he has a clear migu. And even in the third option where there's 1 witness for a shvur, the problem is you can't make a shvur. You're maida. What's the shvur? So let's go through it inside. There's no way out. How are we to judge this case? To make him pay for it because he admits that he took it. That, we already explained. Like a tresati. Why should I have to pay? There are no 2 witnesses. So Lachar should have had a migu. Right? The migu is, I could have said, that denied taking it. Lift the rate. So you want to tell me he's part because of the migu? How could that be? So if there's an aid, what that does is it makes him make a shvur. So if so, you lost your migu. And the reason why you lost your migu is because what is migu? Believe me, Taina A, because I could have said Taina B. I have a problem in this scenario. Taina B would have obligated to make you make a shvur. If you would have wanted to make a shvur, you don't want to make a shvur, right? You have to make a shvur that it's really yours. So you lost your migu. It's very weak. Lishtaba. He should make a shvur that he didn't snatch it. That can either be Ha'amar. He was Maida. Adais Baldin. Mechtav Chatva. The Kivadam Chatva. Some say the Rishon, we're going to go through this right now. The Kivadam Chatva. He admits it. Havalei Kegazlin. Kegazlin. He's not a mamash gazlin because he's tining its heads, but he's a gazlin that he can't make a shvur. So, but let's look. Now, let's go through this a little. They bring down from the Marsha and the Madur Basra that he's mamash like a gazan, because once he admits taking it's not how you operate in halacha. You don't just walk over and take something back. You have an issue, you go to best. So you're like a gazlan. However, the Ritva takes out this whole entire text of gazlan. So let's stick with the Ritva. There is no We're not handing as a gaz. The point is, he can't make a shua because he's minded. Let's see, the Rashbam says anything? Yeah, the Rashbam does one, he's a kegazlan. Okay. He wants to go that his migu is very weakened. Okay, so if so, what do we do now? So because of that, they didn't know what to do. How do we pass it? On one hand, we have a clearly a eid echad, right? That's saying you grabbed it, and there's no support to say that you had a rech to grab it, right? So you should have to pay. One side of the coin, you should have to pay because there is a eid echad. On the other hand, now you can say defendant only accomplishes a eid echad only accomplishes an halacha, a shvuah. That's all it accomplishes, right? But if he can't make a shvuah, so go home. That's your function. That's the other side to understand it. You have one agenda, make a shvuah. Okay, nothing to do with shvuah, go home, right? So if you ignore the witnesses, then he should be believed with the migu. But in reality, the migu is weakened because there's eid echad. So that's the two sides of the coin where we don't really have a clarity. Okay. So Amalar Rabba, this is the famous decision rendered by Rabba. You're right. The only thing that Eid Echad could do is make a shvuah, correct? But now the reason why you're obligated to pay is because you were chayav a shvuah, because there's an Eid Echad. Now that you can't make a shvuah, that's your issue already. Therefore, you're obligated to pay. So this is what we're trying to say from what? This is what Abaya was trying to say. Talmid Abaya, we're trying to say in our sugya also. You brought an Eid Echad telling us that you clearly ate for 3 years. So there's no chazaka because there's no two Eid. There's an Eid Echad, and you're trying to taina that what? That it's yours. So if so, you're not denying the charge, you should have to pay. Now, he's understanding it, which I'm having a little difficulty because I'm already thinking of a bias response, which we're going to see in a moment. What a bias response can be, how you can't compare the two cases. But right now, we're understanding to explain a little better how we're understanding these two cases. We explained earlier that one could argue that the only purpose of an Eid is to come make a shvuah. The second there's no shvuah involved, go home. Right? Therefore, Rabbi Abba comes to teach us that's not the case. He could do damage. Let's use the word damage. Comes Eid Echad, he causes damage and he makes you chayav a shvuah. And once you're chayav a shvuah, it's your issue now. Now that you can't make the shvuah, you're obligated to pay. That was the chiddush of Rabbi Abba. So we're trying, Abaya's Talmidim thought this case is like Rabbi Abba. Why? Because just like in the three scenarios earlier, that if you have two Eidim, that you have a chazaka, you're fine. It's like two Eidim saying that you grab it, you give it back. Right? If you have no Eidim at all, you're believed. No, if you have no Eidim at all, it's pasha, you have to give it back. Right? Here, the problem is you have one witness who's hurting him. However, you admitted that you ate it. Right? So you admitted to that Eid Echad. So if so, what do you do? So we thought, now that there's Eid Echad involved, and you're admitting to that Eid Echad, so there's nothing really for you to do. Therefore, you have to pay. That was the dimyan of the sugya of Naskar Baba and the case of Eid Echad B'Tzal. This is what we're up to. Amrle Abaya. Abaya said, no, it's not a good mashal. Me, dummy. You can't compare the two. In the case of Rababa, Hasam Sada le'aruye ka'asi. What's the purpose of the Eid Echad? The Eid Echad is coming to go against the person snatching the silver bar, right? Therefore, what? How do we know that? Because what would have happened if there would have been two witnesses, right? He would have had to give back the silver bar. Hacha, it's the opposite. Who's bringing the witness? The defendant or the plaintiff? In the case of Naskar Baba, was the plaintiff. Over here, it's who? The defendant. What would happen if one other aid would come? So how could you compare the two? So let's explain it a little deeper. State in the Torah, That at one aid can cause you, right, to be chayav money. However, the Chachamim, the Gemaras make a diak. Lechayiv imamin you can't, but lechayiv shvua you could, right? Now, so the concept is whenever there's two eidim chayiv you money, it's like a ladder. Let's make it easier. It's a foundation. The foundation is two witnesses obligate you to make you payment. One could do a shvua. So Zok Abaya, if you're missing that, it's the shvua is based on that foundation. If the foundation itself is the two eidim is going to make you potter, they never can make you make a shvua against it. Put it this way, to make it easy to understand. Shvua, let's use the word term. Shvua is like half of the damage. The damage is you'd be chayav to pay. Shvua is like half of that. In essence, you have to make a shvua, but you not have to pay. What happens if the foundation is the other way around? If the foundation is making you not pay, then Eid Echad can make you make a shvua. That's the chiddush of Abaya. That shvua is talui on the hitzah, on what you're trying to accomplish, on the result, which is a very big chiddush. You would understand very black and white. Eid Echad makes you make a shvua. On that Zok Abaya, no, it's really about the result of what you're trying to accomplish. It's a piece of the puzzle. And if the whole picture is to make you potter, then Avad Eid Echad can go the other direction. Wow. Okay, so that's how the Rishonim explain the Ritva specifically explains this mahalach to understand it at a much deeper level. That shvua is a chelik of the way Chaim's saying it's a chelik of the result. You can't have that two goes to one direction and shvua goes the other. That's the Havana and understanding Kipshutai, what Abai is trying to say. So that's what's going on over here. If you have two Eidim, you would be able to keep the money, right? You'll be able to keep the field. So you can't say one aid should go against you. Okay. So Abaya concludes, and he says, Elidam Yehader Ababa, you know what you could compare Ababa? Lechad Sada, to one witness, you're right, but Uletarti Shnei. 2 years, Ulepayer. And there the question becomes regarding the payment. Why? Like we just explained. What would happen if you have two witnesses for 2 years? You also have to pay, right? It's only when it's 2 years. For 3 years, the foundation, the result comes at your potter. So Abai says, you know what you can compare it to? Where a person, he was very confident. He thought he could find Eidim. The reality was, whether he got confused, that he admitted. And then all he was able to produce is one aid for 2 years. Then Abai says, you know what? It's like Naskar Baba. Because what would happen if you produce two witnesses for 2 years? You also have to pay. So just like we just explained that if the result would be when there's two, you would have to pay. One is Machai Shua. And here you can't make a Shua because you're Maida. Therefore, you have to pay the full amount, right? Okay. So to make it easier to understand, the way we're explaining it today, when we're learning it, is don't get confused with the word, when we do the Gemara, Lisiyua, right? So, some people, if they're learning on a very elementary level without really learning the Rishonim, the Rishban, the Rishonim, how do they understand the Gemara? I remember when I learned it as a kid the first time I had this issue. He says, Mi dami hasam sada l'ruika asin. Here it's coming l'siyua. But with that elementary level understanding, l'siyua means as long as he's coming to support me, it's not an issue. Wait a second. In the case of 2 years, is he coming to support me? Why? Who brought the Eidim? Who brought this Eid Echad? The defendant. So what's the Abai saying? If I understood that just when it comes to support you can make me sure. Oh, so in the later case where it's 2 years, he brought the Lisiyua. Siyua doesn't mean Siyua. The way you have to explain, this is where the Rishonim I think are coming from. They're coming from Varaya, they're coming from his example that he himself, Abai, is minded to compare the two of Naskar Bab in the case of 2 years. Even though the defendant's the one producing. It's not about who's producing this Eid Echad. Doesn't make a difference. Sometimes, like that's exactly what Abai is trying to say. Even if the defendant by mistake produced a witness, right? Listen, he thought he was coming to help him. He didn't end up realizing that all he did was damage, right? He was the one who produced the witness. Still, the Nakuda is not really who's the one bringing the witness, rather what's the end result. Is it when there's two Eidim, it's going to be Potter or going to be Chayiv? Therefore, one is like a baby step. If it's two is Chayiv, one Shua. If the two is the result, would be Potter, one cannot obligate to make a Shua. I think you have to say that this is a much, much, much more extensive sugya. We're really learning this on a very, very basic level. People that are learning this in yeshiva right now are doing this, I could say, more than a month. focused on the sugya Naska der Baba. I myself, I think we learned this 6-7 weeks in yeshiva. Just this one little daf of Lamed Daled Amud Aleph. Okay, let's continue. Lamed Daled Amud Beis. Very geschmack sugya. Ha'u arva. There was the ship that have a minsei alei betray. Two people are fighting over the ship. Hi omididi, hi omididi. Each one saying it's mine. What happened? One of them pulls up the bezdin, lebeidino. Va'amar tifsua, please hold on to it for me. Admenaisa sadididi. I'm going to produce witnesses. I know I have Reuben and Shimon. I'm going to go pick them up from the local village. I'll come right back with them. Please hold on to it. So let's give a little background. Usually, what happens is, two people are coming into walking, marching into Bezdin, just screaming at each other. No one's able to produce any witnesses. This is the sugya called Kol de Olim Gvar. Whoever's the stronger is going to win. In those terminology, even Kol de Olim Gvar, there are many Rishonim who explain why do we say Kol de Gvar. Is it a raya that it's really, some Rishonim say that the person who's really, really believes in it is going to fight harder. Just the nature of the world. If you really think it's yours, and you really, really believe it's yours.
But you don't say that by the Shnai Melchus Metalis.
Oh, why is Shnai Melchus Metalis? This is the famous, when we start a Hu'arva, do you know what the first thing you do when you start a Hu'arva? All the Yeshiva Bachrim open up a Betzia Dav Beis, and they learn the Taisus of Dav Beis Amud Aleph, where it brings the two sugyas together, and they try to balance the two sugyas. You're asking a very, very good question. Hadin called on Gavar. Right away for Taisus. Jag brought it out. I wasn't going to get extensive into it. But Taisus right away says, there clearly says the Achlaiku. So there's many pshatim. We could go look into it over there. Rabbeinu Tam gives the easier teretz, the Oichzin Shani. They're both a muchzuk. When you're a muchzuk, you have no choice but to say achlaiku. Over here, there's no muchzuk. It's a hu'arv. It's a master ship in the ocean. And there's only two people fighting over it. We could stop over there just on a basic level, but it's much more extensive. This is the sugyas. Everyone does the whole taisis inside Dav Beis. They do the whole taisis over here. But oichzin shani. That's the answer to your question is, Rabbeinu Tam says, oichzin shani. The sugya in B'Mitzia is talking about you're a muchzuk betalis, you're holding on to it, therefore you have to say achlaiku. Here we're not.
Well, only because you can't hold on to it.
Yes, you could. Sure, you could. For example, all your nechasim are in there. If you're in the ship currently, and all your family's living in there, then it's your ship. You're a muchzuk. What would happen? You pull out my ship. I have my bed in there, my svarim, and this is my kids are sleeping in there. I'm a muchzuk. I'm a muchzuk. Right? So, but even Tais is not so simple. But that's really the sugyas over there. I don't want to get bogged down with the sugyas too much of a hu'arvat because it's quite extensive sugya. We're going to try to say it on a level that we could finish, move on with the dapim. So again, no one can prove his claim, right? And no one's holding on to the property, right? Loi Rashbam right away says, "V'loi zev zeh muchzakim ba." No one's a muchzak, right? Rashbam also says because we don't bring out shnai mechzim betalis, right? Brings to the ben Chanano. So no one's holding on to it. So therefore, we come on to call the olim kvar. So what happens? Usually, you have a sugya called olim kvar. This person says, please, I have witnesses. They happen to be, they went to Lakewood. I'm going to go pick them up. So how long do we give him? We give him a 30-day period. We say, you know what? No problem. We're going to grant you 1 month to go pick up your Eidim. Right? But what was his concern? Why don't you let the guy take it? His concern was that what's going to happen is that the Eidim, that this other person is going to go and quickly sell it in the miwal and run away. So he wanted Bezdin to hold on to it. Right? So this is the scenario. So the question presents itself. Tafsinon oiloi tafsinon. Does the Bezdin grab onto this boat or not? So it's a machlaikis. You have Hunamar tafsinon, Rav Yehuda amalei tafsinon. So let's give a little explanation to the beer machlekes. We're going to intertwine it with another machlekes, and you'll see how everything makes sense. So machlekes if Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda, if we, Bezdin, are going to seize the boat or not. So we're going to see in a moment. There's a machlekes in Marayim. What happens in a scenario, mamish this case, where one guy was promising he's going to be able to produce witnesses, and they gave him a 30-day period, and Lamaisa Garet, the guy's AWOL. He couldn't find the witnesses. He thought he could, or he's complaining now that the witnesses died, whatever the reason is. The question becomes, do we release it back into the fighting zone? We say, you know what, it's 30 days, you couldn't find witnesses. We throw it back to them, and they're going to go fight over it or not. We're going to see in a moment that some want to hold, right? Once Bezdin took it into their acharayas of deciding who it is, they can't just go and give it back for people to fight over. Now they have a acharayas to find out who it is. Munach, it's called munach. Ad shiyavu elio. Now that they're holding on to it, they don't have a choice. So based on that machlekes, we have our present machlekes. That both Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda agree. They're both minded that if it would not be able to get released after 30 days if this witness can't produce witnesses. If this one of the people complaining, the plaintiffs, they're both plaintiffs, they cannot produce witnesses. Both Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda would agree that we don't take it away from him, right? However, we're going to see in a moment. So Rav Yehuda is going to hold that once Bezdin grabs it, we can't release it. It's munachat shiyav elio, right? And the reason is, we're really worried. You know what we're really worried, Dr. Yehuda? We're worried that the person is really a liar. What's he going to do? We saw this by Shlomo Melech, by cutting the baby. He says, me and you are having an argument at this boat. I tell Bezdin, hold on to the boat and produce witnesses. You have no witnesses. What's going to happen is Bezdin is going to take it away from everyone. He doesn't care. It's either way that wasn't his boat. He got his other person, at least that he can get the boat. Okay. Therefore, we don't want to do that. That was Rav Yehuda's svar. Rav Huna, on the other hand, held, as long as not a problem, you hold on to it for 30 days. After 30 days, that's the Zman, the Rishonim bring down, and Piyaisa specifically says, after 30 days, we give it back to them, and they go right back and they fight over it. Therefore, no one's going to lose.
But here, one of them has possession of this
No
boat.
one has possession of the boat.
Well, once they gave it to Bezdin, that it didn't have. But
Correct.
before that,
no one had. That's the whole Rashban.
The boat was in the middle of the sea.
Not in the middle, it's sitting on the sea. Yeah, correct. Not in the middle, I wouldn't call it in the middle, it's on the dock.
But it belonged to someone.
Correct, we don't know who. Who does it belong to? That's the problem. When it's muchzakim, like we just saw, you brought out the Shnei and Metalis. The Rashbam and Taisus bring out this question. And then we say Echleikum. But over here, no one's holding on to it. So really, this machlekes of Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda with Bezdin grabs on this boat is really dependent on the machlekes if we release it. Let's see it inside. Tasina light tasina. Rav Huna tasina. Rav Yehuda light tasina. What happened was Lamaisa Garet, they grabbed the Bezdin took the boat for either two options, either Stamazah like Rav Huna, they like Rav Huna, or they, in a scenario, one extra point to say is, if both of them agree, say, you know what? If both of them say we could produce witnesses within a 30-day period, then even Rav Yehuda agrees that we hold on to the boat. The only question becomes when one of them is fighting and says, no, he's a shakran. I'd rather do kol and gvar. But if they both agree to hold, they say, you know what? Each one's so convinced that he can find witnesses, no problem, we'll hold on to this. So that's what happened. And then, Azal, either they both couldn't find witnesses, or again, like one of them said he could, and he couldn't produce anything. Amalahu, so he goes after Bezdin and he says, Afkul, take it out, release it for us, let's do kol and gvar. V'chol dal and gvar. Right? He wanted them to go back. So this is the Shaila, which is based on the first option. Mafkinon, alay mafkinon. Do we release it or not? Rav Yehuda, alay mafkinon, Rav Papa, mafkinon. Right? Rav Huna holds once Bezdin has the boat in his hands, we can't release it to the public. Maybe someone, right? Maybe the Kolan Gvar happens to be the stronger person. Rav Papa, on the other hand, says it's not a problem since your whole intention was just hold on to it for 30 days and release it. Therefore, Dr. Papa, we have no problem to release the boat.
Why don't they just sell it and divide the money?
And then no one's willing to. If they're willing to, it wouldn't be an issue. Okay.
The thing about today is,
If they were willing to make a pshara, then no problem. What, Bezdin should sell it?
Yeah.
Why should Bezdin sell it? He's losing out from the real person. That makes no sense.
But they don't know who that person is.
So it's called Munach HaChiyav Eliyahu. Imagine you had your beautiful
You can't
Bentley.
keep a boat.
Sure.
I-
Imagine you had your Bentley. I decided, you know what? I could get half of the proceeds by running to Bezdin and saying it's mine. What's that mean?
I don't think that the boat will last that long.
Correct. So we could maybe sell it and put the proceeds in our account forever and ever. You're asking a question like, what's going to be with the boat itself? We'll figure it out. We'll sell it maybe. You're right. If we have to. Okay. What is the halacha? V'helchasa loy tavsinon v'heicha de tafas loy maskin. Halacha is we don't grab it, right? However, heicha de tafas in a scenario, right? Either it was by mistake they grabbed onto it, they didn't realize, or they both agreed to it. Loy mafkinon, we don't. The halacha is like who? Hilchasa k'Rav Yehuda, k'Rav Yehuda. Wow. Okay. Let's continue a little more, and we're going to start tomorrow with a little more of Rav Nachman of Kol Dol Gvar. What do you do then? Ownership of a property, same type of thing. No one can prove the claim.
you just get shorter and shorter.
Yeah, Babas is very, very short optim. Omer Rav Nachman, Kol de Olim Gvar. Lacking the evidence, what do we say? We withdraw and let the person do Kol Gvar. So let's start today with a few basic understanding Kol Gvar, and tomorrow we're going to pick up with other sugyas. The Rosh explains that once Kol Gvar is once I gain possession, it's one-time battle. It's like a boxing match, one time. Whoever's the winner is the winner. There's no back and forth. That's not how we operate, right? He says it doesn't make sense that Klal Yisrael is going to pass on halachas that we keep him fighting like cats and dogs. No such a thing. You make a one-time fight. Makes sense, and the person who really, really, really owns the property is going to come, he's going to fight his way to get it back, but it's only a one-time shot. However, Taisus, they bring them with the Shach, and other places can hold that no, just because you one time won it, I'll come back with other rayas or different kaiches. You got me at a bad time. And the Rush says, the whole purpose that Bezdin could feel paskin Kol Gvar is we feel very comfortable. Truth, sheker in loy reglayim, right? Sheker, the word sheker doesn't have feet because there's no balance, right? But emes, everything has, emes has a foundation. Specifically, the hell that the reasoning is the real owner is eventually going to come with a proper proof, and he's going to fight harder. Therefore, more than that, he even says, look to the Muki Yosef, that what's going to happen is by Kol Gvar, you're not going to want to fight so hard, make a big deal. And next thing you know, he's able to talk to find witnesses. Because deep down, he really owns it. Therefore...
Wait a minute, I believe it's mine.
No, they don't. No, Kol Gvar is not a scenario where we really think deep down that they're both really convinced it was a misunderstanding. Sometimes we can have a misunderstanding. You would pick up and make sure that it's yours, and he would make sure it's yours, right? Sometimes you see such arguments. They both really, really feel confident. The whole sugya of Ahu Arva is talking about where we feel comfortable that one of them deep down is a pure imposter. He's a liar. So in such a case, Kol Gvar makes sense. You're right. If there was taka, we felt really, really confident. And they're both Yarg Val Yava that it's really theirs. I don't know if we would pass on Kol Gvar. We might have to because that's the halacha. We can't rely on that. But that's the basic understanding Kol Gvar. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to pick up from other sugyas why over there we don't say Kol Gvar. That's the Lamed Hey, Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow.